Hello, everyone. A lot of students come to me and ask this question: what should I practice today? And I see comments every now and then in our channel as well with very similar question, or how to basically structure your practices so it's not overwhelming for you. So I'm going to be addressing this topic in this video. If you're new to this channel, welcome. My name is Deshi Nagarajan and we talk all things classical music. You're free to explore all the educational videos and content that we've been creating. I started learning Carnatic music just about 10 years ago while I was also raising a family and building a career in tech. And it wasn't easy, but through the proper guidance from my teachers and my absolute passion to have music in my life, I've been able to grow in music in a pace that I never even imagined. What started out just as a hobby to learn a few songs to sing in a golu turned out to be more than a passion. Today, I'm absolutely fulfilled singing and learning some of the most beautiful, complex compositions to performing locally whenever possible, and even teach a small pool of students locally and draw absolute joy sharing the knowledge in the community. If I were to pick the one fundamental reason that drove me to create this channel and share my knowledge, was to reach out to many people just like me, trying to learn as an adult, as a mom, as a professional, having a day job, and how to integrate this music in their lives. Here I share not just musical content, but I also tips and techniques of how to be productive with music and how to practice effectively so you don't have to spend hours and hours every day to make this work in your life. And again, welcome. So this video is split into three parts. In the first part, I will address the root cause behind this question. Why even get this question in our mind? And the mindset behind it, and the behavioral patterns that make this overwhelming. Because that's very important. If you don't address that, then any amount of homework we give you, it is going to be overwhelming and eventually you will give up. And then I will talk about certain practice routines that you can frame yourself based on where you are in your journey. I will share with you some simple principles that should guide your routine. And then finally, I will also share some practice sheets that you can actually download and use it for yourself and even modify it based on what you're learning right now. All right, let's go. So, this question isn't new to me. Practically every other day, I hear somebody asking me this question: what should I practice? Give me homeworks. Now, I can understand if this is a child, they may not know and they like homeworks. But with adults, I would like to give you some techniques and principles behind what we are really practicing so that you feel empowered to create your own routine. While the question sounds genuine, it's the wrong question to ask. Instead, you should be asking, what should I be improving today? Or what aspect of musicality should I improve? Does that make sense? Let me explain. So, this question is coming from a place of overwhelm in your mind. Think about this. You have learned Sarli verses, Janta verses, all the basic fundamentals. Then you explore Geetams and Varnams and so many ragas. And if you're in intermediate stage, maybe you've tried a few alapnas or whatnot. And then think about the compositions. There are thousands and thousands of compositions out there, right? Obviously, this will be overwhelming for you because you're focusing too much on the content of the practice and not the process or quality of the practice. Let me repeat this for you. You're focusing too much on the content and not the process or quality of your practice. Now, what do I mean by that? Content is the actual thing that you practice, right? Parishays or compositions or varnams or whatever you're learning in the class. That's the content of the practice. That is something your teacher is going to teach you, right? But nobody teaches you the process, the sadhana itself, how it should look like. What are we practicing really? So that's the process. When I say process for your practice, I mean, do you practice every day or every other day? Do you have a specific time during the day that you practice always? Do you have a routine in place? Do you have a specific goal or an outcome for a particular practice session? If your answer is no to any of these, then you lack a process. When I say quality, quality determines things like, are you measuring your practice? Are you measuring your progress? There's a famous line by Peter Drucker, a very famous consultant and educator, who says, you can't manage what you don't measure. So, are you measuring them? How do you know you're progressing? What aspects of your voice or your musicality are you trying to improve? Sometimes the practice just involves listening because you want to go deeper into certain raga. Sometimes you just want to improve your breath control, lung capacity. How many avartanams in a varnam can you sing in one breath? Sometimes you want to practice the stillness in your voice when you're holding a sa. Sometimes you want to memorize the composition. You may know bits and pieces, but singing them in a holistic way. Let's say you have a performance tomorrow. How will you practice, right? So that practice will look very different. As you can see, the process, the quality dictates your progress in your singing, not the content. You can take one Sarli Verse, and based on what you're focused on, your practice may look entirely different. You can just take the existing fundamentals, right? Sarli Verse to Alankaram, the 5 chapters that I talk about. And by the way, if you don't know what I'm talking about, hit me a comment below. I will explain that. So these fundamentals can be practiced in so many different ways. I even hate the term saying basics or beginner lessons. They are not beginner lessons. Trust me, even performers, they have them in the fingertips. My guru often say, the greatest artists in the world are those who are closest to the fundamentals. It's not about just knowing them intellectually, right? It's about being so good at singing them, performing them. You should be able to even teach it to somebody. So that's the quality of practice. You can go crazy with it. So many creative ways of practicing those, right? Which I will address in the next section. But in essence, that's what I mean by quality and process in place. Which brings me to the next part. How do you build a routine? We are all creature of habits. And if you don't have any good habits, chances are you have a bunch of bad habits. Let that sink in for a moment. Now, people say, oh, it's so difficult for me to form a habit. Yes, that's true. That's because chances are you have a bunch of bad habits which has filled your day. As human beings, we are creature of habits. That's how the world functions. That's how businesses are run. That's why 9 to 5 job works. That's why school works. We have a routine in place. Everybody in the society operates because we have certain habits and routine in place. Either somebody else created for us, or we are conscious enough and we take charge of our lives and form our own habits. First of all, pause for a second, and I want that concept to sink in your head for a minute. And for the next day or two, go through every single activity that you are part of and see which habits have you formed unconsciously. It could be turning on the remote and watching TV serial, or just doom scrolling on YouTube, watching shorts, Instagrams, whatnot. Or maybe good habits, going to bed on time, waking up early and brushing your teeth. So this is a major topic. Maybe I will reserve that for a separate video, just talking about being productive and habit formation. For now, accept that you need to form a habit of practicing every single day or every other day or in some form. You commit to something. So, speaking about what should be in a routine or what should you practice, let me first address this for our beginners here. If you are practicing on and off, maybe you are learning with a teacher and you're just in your baby steps, learning fundamentals, aligning Shruti and whatnot. The one and only one thing that you should be focusing on is how to form a habit to sit down and practice every single day. It doesn't matter what you practice, you can just be singing sa, holding the sa for 10 minutes in the tanpura. It doesn't matter what you practice, but just the sarli verses or whatever was covered in your last class, or just holding the swara sa. Believe it or not, that's what I did in my initial days. There were days I would be totally wiped out and drained out and no time to practice, sometimes frustrated whether should I even practice. My voice will be cracking. I will just turn on the tanpura and hold the sa for as many times as possible, as long as possible, and it will go for 20 minutes, 30 minutes also. If anybody has tried that, I would love to know. It can sound extremely boring and like a torture initially, but if you go through it regularly, that becomes such a sadhana, such a meditative experience, I cannot even explain. Doesn't matter what you practice. The first thing is committing to practice every single day. That is the first hurdle as beginners. Think about this. This is a new activity that is trying to enter your life. Think of it like a lifelong companion that is willing to grow in your life. Think of it like a young infant or a seed that you've just sowed. Whether you like it or not, whether you are sleep deprived, no matter what happens in your other parts of your life, you have to take care of that infant, otherwise it's going to die, right? You can't say I fed the baby 3 times yesterday, so I'm going to skip today. It doesn't work like that. Music is one of the subtlest forms of actions and activities that doesn't come easily to everybody, only because of this reason, not because you cannot sing. There's a beautiful definition for passion that I recently came across. Passion is not something that you love doing. Passion is something that you're willing to suffer for. Because, yes, it's not easy to get up early in the morning and prioritize singing when you have breakfast to make for your child or when you have a meeting to attend. You somehow make it work. You have to suffer through it. It pains, it hurts, but you somehow make space. And that initial days is going to be hard. It is hard for any activity. But if your passion for music or liking for music is not as deep and strong that you're willing to suffer for, this may not be for you. And it's completely fine. Then you should find something else that you're willing to suffer for. You are willing to sacrifice something in your life. Okay? If you just constantly look for comfort and everything should just go as it is, and then somehow such a deep art form, ancient art form, which people spend years and years practicing and honing, should just come to you without any effort, then I'm so sorry, this is not for you. And you should not feel bad about this, because at least knowing that this is not for you, and you should pick some other activity that you're willing to sacrifice for. So, that being said, if you're in that stage, the one takeaway for you: go through all the activities that you're committed to in a day. Maybe you're working day job, you have 2 children, you cook at home, you have certain other commitments, whatever that is. Do a complete audit of all the things that you're part of, and then see how you can fit 20 minutes a day, every single day, for the next 40 days. Now, why 40 days? We will look into it later. But next 40 days, 20 minutes, you're sitting down with a tanpura and doing something. Even if nothing, just playing tanpura and listening to it, and not multitasking, by the way. You're not working on the laptop or doom scrolling on the phone and then tanpura is playing. Not like that. Paying full attention, fully involved for that 20 minutes every single day for the next 40 days. If you can do that, then you can even think of having music in your life. Okay? And this is not going to be easy. Many times you will fail. Maybe one day you will miss. What do? You reset your 40 days, okay? Your day zero starts again, and then you go through it 40 days. Do that and come back and comment in this video and tell me if you're able to go through that 40 days of practice. If you're still sticking around, that means you're probably doing some practices on a regular basis, which is good. Then you're ready to take in the next set of information, which I'm going to share. I'm going to share the 5 guiding principles that have helped me craft my own routine for practice session. Number 1 is Shruti, or ability to sing anything pitch perfect. It's not just matching sa, pa, and sa, but every single gamakam, every single small note in a sangati, is it happening in Shruti? So that is the first aspect. Second is the laya or the talam. How precise is your talam when you're singing, especially when you're, let's say, doing third speed, second speed, your understanding of switching between speeds or keeping the integrity of the talam, how precise it is. That is one aspect. Third is the breath control and the lung capacity. How effortlessly you're able to sing the varnam or a composition depends on your ability to hold the breath for as long as possible. So the practices involve singing a varnam in one breath. Okay, how many avartanams can you do? Okay, we will go into the details of how your practices can look like, but that's the third aspect: lung capacity and breath control. The fourth guiding principle is raga understanding, especially if you're trying to build gamakams, complex sangatis, alapanas, and going deep into a raga. So that is the fourth guiding principle and how your practices should look like. And then the fifth is the ability to sing a composition by heart, memorization of compositions, right? As long as you need a book to sing, it's worthless, right? Maybe it's a good hobby time pass, but if you want to showcase and if you want to sing somewhere, which I'm sure you want to, then it is important to memorize. Not only for that, but it gives you a confidence. Try this. If you know a kriti from end to end, you know some kriti really well, just turn on the camera as if some audience is looking at you and just sing with the talam from end to end like you're performing. You'll be amazed how many small little mistakes happen. And it is important that you go through that rigor. Okay, my first performance online for a concert many years ago, I sang one kriti. It took me 3 hours to make a one video without any edits. So it's amazing, right? But that changed my understanding of how deep I should be going in my practices. So anyway, so that is the fifth guiding principle. Maybe the next video we will actually take some practical examples from fundamentals, from varnams, from compositions, many things, and how you can mix and match and create your own practice routine based on these five guiding principles. But in this video, I will just give you some techniques that you can practice to address each of these components, and then you can pick the content based on what you're learning. Make sense? So let's address Shruti. So Shruti becomes even more important when you're a beginner, right? So at that stage, if you're just starting out and just learning, then spend your first few months just holding each swara. And it doesn't matter what raga you pick. You can do Maya Malagula to begin with. I usually cycle through 4 or 5 ragas, which touch upon all the 12 notes in some way. So Maya Malagula, Shankarabharanam, Kharagara Priya, Harikamboji, Bhairavi or Todi, something like that. First, try to hold that note in a pure form. We are not looking into gamakams here, remember. Just holding that note and and measuring them, measuring how long you are able to hold. Within a few sessions, you will be able to increase that very easily. So you can go easily to 30 seconds. If you're decently physically active and doing things, running around and doing chores, your breath control is fairly good. Easily 30 seconds you can build up to. Okay, so 10 seconds is a good start. Slowly 12, 15 seconds, and all the way to 30 seconds. You can just do the sustaining swaras. And then the other aspect is trying to do dhatu varses in multiple ragas. See how you're able to jump between the notes. And then try some sangatis. If you know a song, then try those sangatis, right? And then see if you're in shruti. Most people in the beginner stage, when they're trying to learn a song, they can get the basic sangatis okay. But as the sangatis progress to a lot of up and down, that's when your shruti gets compromised and it looks subpar. It sounds subpar. Not because you cannot sing, it's just that you have not given enough importance to pause and correct the shruti in there, okay? So those are the things that you should be focusing on. So maybe one day you just want to sit and I want to sing a song with perfect shruti, okay? So even if it's a fast-paced song, slow it down, sing it meditatively. It'll calm you, if not anything. So slow down. I'm gonna just perfect my shruti, and I'm gonna only do these exercises. Like maybe take a varnam, take just the pallavi. There have been days where I would just spend 45 minutes on just pallavi, singing in swaram, akaram, really, really slow, almost like a drupad. And then second speed, third speed. You may not have to do that because that's when the talam aspect comes in. So maybe it's a good segue to talam. So what can you practice in the talam? Take the varishes itself. Okay, so see if you can jump between first speed, second speed, third speed effortlessly. Maybe we'll do some practical sessions in the coming videos. So in the talam, you can practice, let's say, the same varnam that we talked about. When you're focused on shruti, it's different. When you're focused on talam, maybe you will try all the three speeds first in the chaturashra nade, right? And then you can add tishra nade. If that's too difficult, Try that in the Sarli Varse. So now from Varnams, you're going to Sarli Varse, right? Notice how the content doesn't really matter here. Again, okay, the focus is on the Talam perfection. So go do Sarli Varse in Tishanare. So what do I mean by that? I don't have a Shruti here, so I'm just going to assume some random Shruti. Sari gama pada ni sa ni da pa ma ga re sa. Okay, so sari gama pada ni sa ni da pa ma ga re sa. That's how it goes. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. So let me just demonstrate that for the first Sarli verse. Sari gama pada ni sa ni da pa ma ga re sa. Sari gama pada ni sa ni da pa ma ga re sa. Sari gama pada ni sa ni da pa ma ga re sa. Okay, so that will take some learning if you're not familiar with it, right? You can practice that. Once you get used to the groove and the Tishanade, how it goes, then you can go back to Varnam and practice the whole Varnam in Tishanade, right? That is one thing. Or just building patterns and practicing them with a metronome. Okay, for example, there are patterns of 3, like sari gari gama gama pa ma pada pada ni da ni sa, but you should do aditalam, let's say. So sari gari gama gama pa ma pada pada ni da ni sa ni da ni da pa ma gama gare sa sari ga, and goes on. So it doesn't have to fit the aditalam necessarily, but checking that are you able to sing in talam. Turn on the metronome, it will be much easier, right? And then try fourth speed. Janta verses you can try in Tishanadai. So many things are there, like just focusing on, okay, let me challenge myself for talams. So what are the concepts that I want to get better at? There is Khanda Chapu, there is Khanda Gati. All these talam aspects come into play, and then you can pick whatever content you have, you're learning, and then employ this principle to practice, right? Hope it's making sense here. Okay, let's keep going. The breath control. I think we have spoken about it briefly when Swara training, but essentially this is it. I have actually a set routine for this. I do almost every day now, and it has been a game changer for me. Taking Sarigama Padanisa in any raga and then holding each note for 16 beats. So I take Rattakala Adi 1 1 2 2 3 3 4 4 5 5 6 6 7 7 8 8. So that's 16. So you'll hold in one breath, you're thinking just Sa, and then Re, and then Ga, and so on. And then come back Sani Dapa Magaresa. And then you halve it. For 8 beats Sa, 8 beats Re. But you're making sure that for the entire 16 beats, you're holding that Sa and Re in one breath. And then it keeps halving. 4. So Sa, Re, Ga, Ma will fit in the one Ratakaradi. And so on and so forth. We can do that routine someday maybe. If that is something you're interested in, please comment below. We will in fact practice together with that, and that's a game changer. It conditions your voice, your lung capacity improves drastically, and you become so meditative. Your brain functions in such a clarity. Your ability to inhale and the oxygen level in your brain just goes so high. I mean, there's just so many benefits. I can't list them out, all of them in this video. Extremely, extremely powerful process that you can incorporate in your daily practice. So that is the breath control exercise. You can also practice singing, like I said, varnams or compositions in one breath, or even trying a sangati. For example, let's say in Orangasai, it's a Rettakaladi, right? And the sangatis are so slow. The 16 beats. Slow it down further and see how we can do it. And all this while, be very mindful, okay? So that is a breath control. And then the fourth aspect, raga understanding, that can be done in many different ways. Sometimes it just involves listening. So some days that 20 minutes that you allocated for practice can just be listening, okay? And that is active listening, not while doing your chores. Or, by the way, if you're not listening, then I would recommend you to get into that habit of listening. You cannot get better at something that you don't consume. Okay, so you have to consume. Your ears have to constantly listen to different compositions, different ragas, various artists. And YouTube can be your friend here, honestly, as much as it can be an enemy for your brain rot if you're only watching shorts and just random videos. But there are some amazing artists and full concerts on YouTube that you can just play. And I hope you're doing that. But here, when it comes to practice, I'm talking about actively sitting down and just listening. Let's say if you're learning a Varnam, let's say Kalyani Varnam, and Kalyani is new to you, you should learn the Geetams. So sometimes I go back to Geetams and practice the Kalyani Geetam. Most likely you would have learned with minimal gamakams or no gamakams at all, right? But now that you're in a Varnam stage, maybe you know some kritis, go back to the Geetam and see if you can sing with the gamakams. That makes such a big difference. In fact, I have a playlist of all the Geetams sung with proper gamakam, and I will link that here for those of you who want to listen to it. It's a very nice way to learn if you are not familiar. So that is one way. And you can practice some small phrases. So you can take varishes, again, go back to varishes, change the raga, practice Sarli Varses in Kalyani, Dhatu Varses in Kalyani, and then go back to your Varnam or content, whatever you're learning in the class. Your quality of rendition will be exponentially better. Okay, so those are some of the things you can do. And then the fifth part is the memorization of the composition. That is, there's no technique here. You just have to keep singing again and again and again. Go section by section. Maybe one day you're just doing Pallavi. Just memorize it completely. You know, memorization can help in many ways. Practically, how it has helped me in my life is, let's say I'm learning a Varnam. I will just memorize a Pallavi, you know. So you sit down, you need a book until you memorize it. So once you have a rough idea of, at least you know the swarams and sahityams that go into each beat and whatnot, you can put together the structure, but the singing hasn't come efficiently yet. But since it's memorized already, now you can sing in the bathroom, sing while driving, sing while waiting for something, right? Because it's in memory. You don't have to carry a book with you every day. So that is the advantage of memorizing as you go. So just practice section by section. Just memorize a Pallavi, then the Anupallavi, and then sing Pallavi and Anupallavi together. So that's how I have been able to practice with busy life and with everything going on around. It's not that I had plenty of time. Somebody gave me, here you go. You have all the time in the world to practice music. There is a saying, if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person. Only a busy person can structure their life. Otherwise, they wouldn't be busy. So if you have all the time in the world, you wouldn't do anything. Okay, that's just how human beings are built. Let your busy life not be a constraint, but empower you. Okay, you're busy because you're capable, you're able to do multiple things all at the same time. And because you're able to do that, you can incorporate music as well in your life. So don't let this be discouraging. Hopefully, this motivates you to go back and structure your practices. If you need a starting point, I have created some challenge sheets for my students. I hand them out during the summer break because they need homework. I understand that. And it's been very beneficial for them. I will link that in the description. It's an editable document, so feel free to make a copy for yourself and change them to whatever you want and use it to your liking. And if something's working, please share that here in the comments so that everybody else can benefit from your practice ideas. Thank you so much for sticking around till the end. Hope you can try any of these ideas in your own practices, and I will try to make some more videos specifically going through certain practical exercises that incorporates these 5 principles. If that's something you're interested in, definitely I will check out the comments to see if there is any engagement and traction. And until then, happy practicing, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.